People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, if Emery was going to get sacked, I just thought I'd humour myself with possible managerial candidates, people. So we might as well crack on. And I actually believe The Athletic have come out with a report saying names that was on the shortlist for the job if Emery didn't get it. So we'll go over that later. But let's start off with the names I've got here. Now, I've added some wild cards that would never get the job by me, but it's just more humour, man. I mean, it's been a rough week for Arsenal, so let's just talk about something else, man. The first one would be Erik ten Hag. You know I've butchered his name. The Ajax manager, 49 years of age. I believe he, at a point, managed Bayern Munich's youth team. I think he did all right if I wasn't watching him religiously, but I'm sure at Utrecht, he did relatively well there in however duration he was there, and he got them into the Europa League qualifiers. Obviously, he's best known for his attractive style of play and his enthusiasm to give young players chances at Ajax. They obviously got to the semi-finals last season and whatnot. In terms of being a coach with a philosophy and young players, this is something Arsenal need. So he's someone I would look at. Secondly, and probably my highest recommendation, because I just like him a lot, would be Marco Reus. Hopefully I've said his name correctly. A disciple of Klopp. Klopp said he'd have a future in management, and he is. He's hot property in the Bundesliga. There's not a Bundesliga club not monitoring him. He's doing well at Gladbach. I don't know where Gladbach are in the league table now. I can search it for you. But I'm sure they've started off relatively strong. And I think the Bundesliga is pretty open. I think 2nd and 12th, there was only a certain amount of points stopping, separating people, if that makes sense. But if I bring it up, people, Bundesliga table. Yeah, Gladbach are first, people, 19 points ahead of Bayern Munich, people. So they're doing their thing, and Marco Reus is part of that. I've seen him play 4-4-2. I've seen him play a sort of 4-4-2 diamond, gen press, or whatever it's called, what the Germans do. I've seen him play 4-2-3-1. So he can play a lot of tactical things. He's in his early 40s. He's in his 40s, sorry. So he's got a lot of time on his hand. He's got a clear way of playing and a clear philosophy is what I like. He plays young players as well throughout the whole Gladbach side. And what I like about him in addition to that, Zakaria has said he likes playing with him. He likes his style of play. And their new signing, Thuram, the young player, said he likes him as well. And a couple of words on him, he said, he talks about the opponent. He's very precise about what he expects us to do on the field. And we all understand what he wants. He gives you confidence. He's the coach you want to fight for. That's what everybody wants to hear. He's clearly a clear communicator. I can't say that the same for Emery because of what you're seeing. Also, to put respect on his name as well, I really like how they have an organised structure and an organised press at times, Gladbach. And what I like as well is he's shown he can defy the odds, because I'm sure a couple of years ago he won the youth league with Salzburg, playing some tough sides. I mean, you got Chelsea and City and some other big sides in that competition, and he did it. And I'm sure at Salzburg's first team, he won the Austrian First Division and a cup. So he knows how to build teams. He knows how to develop sides. That's what Arsenal need at this moment in time. I think he's someone to look at, in my opinion. I'm not going to stay too long on the Guzman. He's just signed for Leipzig. He's probably just begun his project, but he's someone I would look at as well. Obviously, Allegri. People call Emery boring. They might call Allegri boring because his pardon me, his football's not the most expansive, and a lot of that might be true. But at the end of the day, when I think of Allegri, I think of he's got a clear way of doing things. That's all I want to see. Whether you play attacking football or not, he's got a clear method. He has numerous players in the side, whether they're regulars, starters, squad players. They all know their jobs and they all know what's required of them at every moment of the field. The first thing that comes to me is Italian organisation defensively and structure. That arouses my imagination, people, really, as an Arsenal fan, because I don't see structure. Of all the names I'm probably going to list, Allegri's the most decorated, won several titles and trophies with Juventus, got to a Champions League final, been unable to lift it with Juventus, is probably why he kept it moving. He knows how to win. Obviously, you've got Arteta. When you hear how he's actually had input tactically in regards to what City's first team is doing. You hear how he works one-to-one with the Sterlings and players like that. You hear how he does the opposition analysis and stuff. He seems as someone that's very cerebral in his approach and his hunger. And I like that. He's obviously played under Wenger. He's learning under Pep. 2 good hallmarks of the game and reference points. He's Spanish and got his own own philosophy through being Spanish and got his own philosophy through growing up as a footballer in Spain and just being a professional footballer I'm sure he played. Did he play for Rangers? I'm sure this man played in Scotland. Arteta played in Scotland for a sec, but he's been in several nations. He's obviously knows the club, and in terms of how the current game is going, where you've got to kind of train coaches, they're not necessarily the most experienced. He's someone you want to take a look on, to be honest. By the same logic, he's got slightly more experience, having been with Arsenal's academy and been an assistant manager, is Ljungberg. Ljungberg's a great communicator. How many of the young lads do you hear him talking about people? I mean, the young players talking about him and his influence, people. I think Ljungberg would be a good fit. Julian Stefan of Rennes would be, I'm not too sure if he would be a success, but he's someone I'd look at purely because, again, there's a structure, plays young players, confidence to play 16-year-olds, like, is it Camavinga, I can never say his name, in games. When he took over from Rennes, they turned their season around and they put in a convincing performance against us. And I think he's good for their little model. So he's shown he can work under a model and somewhat apply his freedom within a club's framework. So I like him. Obviously, the way Brendan Rodgers is playing, I'm more on Brendan Rodgers than I was, admittedly, last season, people. I'm still not entirely convinced, and it's nothing to... I don't know, with Rodgers, it's something you can't put your finger on, people. You've never heard me say he's not a good coach. My problem is probably how he manages egos and players at top clubs, really. And to be fair, he seems to be doing well at Leicester, but he's had problems at Liverpool, he's had problems at Celtic, so I'm not too sure. But, I mean, he's got a style of play. He's a very good coach. He's shown it from his days in Reading's academy and Chelsea's. Again, you see in the theme, I've picked coaches, people that are really coaching, and there's a philosophy and things, because that's what Arsenal need. So there's Rodgers. Just to humour you guys, I thought I'm probably missing out, people, but I threw in Kolo Touré, because by the same logic as Arteta, he's under Rodgers. And he's a former Arsenal player. I'm not saying to get him, and I'm just humouring you lot. And you've got good old Sol Campbell, people. You've got Sol Campbell at Southampton at Southend. He should get the Southampton job based on them losing 9-0, to be fair. You've got him. You've got Thierry. You've got Patrick. I'm not really convinced with any of these names I'm currently saying at the end of this vid, but you never know, people. On that note, though, I'm going to keep it pushing. People, it's been a pleasure. DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual.